Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into something that's reshaping how enterprises actually use AI in 2026. We're talking about agentic AI orchestration, and no, we're not just talking about smarter chatbots here. Sam, this feels like a fundamentally different approach to AI deployment, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The shift from reactive chatbots to proactive autonomous agents is massive. What we're seeing is AI moving from interaction toward genuine automation. Instead of a bot waiting for someone to ask it a question, agentic systems are actively decomposing complex business problems, delegating work, and iterating until they solve them. It's a completely different mental model.
So let me set the table with some numbers people might find surprising. McKinsey's latest survey shows 55% of enterprises with generative AI have already moved beyond pilot phase into active deployment. And here's the kicker. 41% of their planned investments are going into workflow automation and multi-agent systems. That's not hype. That's real money moving.
Right, and Deloitte's 2026 data is even more striking. They're predicting 68% of Fortune 500 companies will adopt agent-based orchestration by mid-2026. We're not talking about a niche experiment anymore. This is becoming table stakes for enterprise competitiveness. The speed and ROI metrics back it up, too. Forrester found that companies implementing agentic workflows saw 35% faster process execution and 42% less manual intervention. Those aren't marginal gains.
Those are real business transformations. But here's what I'm curious about, because this sounds complex. What does agentic orchestration actually look like in practice? Like, what's the architecture underneath?
Great question. The core is what we call an AI control plane. Think of it like Kubernetes for AI agents. It does several critical things. It maintains a registry of your available agents and their capabilities. It intelligently routes tasks based on which agent is best suited. It executes workflows that can be sequential, parallel, or conditional, and it maintains persistent state and memory across the entire workflow lifecycle. Without that control layer, you just have disconnected AI systems flying around.
So it's not just about having smart agents, it's about orchestrating them as a system. That control plane is actually doing the heavy lifting of coordination and governance. What about the models themselves? Are enterprises still using one model, or are they mixing and matching?
They're absolutely mixing and matching, and that's intentional. Enterprise agentic systems deploy models strategically based on the task. You might use a reasoning model like Claude 3 and 5 Sonnet for complex analysis and planning. That requires deeper thinking. But then you use lightweight models for routine classification, summarization, or data extraction because you don't need the cognitive overhead, and it saves cost. The orchestration layer makes those model selection decisions automatically based on task complexity, latency requirements, and budget.
That's smart. You're optimizing for both performance and economics. But here's something that keeps enterprises up at night: compliance and governance. Especially with the EU AI Act coming into play. How does orchestration help with that?
This is critical. The control plane enforces governance policies at runtime. You build in compliance checks, audit trails, and risk controls directly into the workflow execution engine. So every decision the agents make is logged, every API call is tracked, and you can enforce regulatory requirements, like data residency or consent verification, before actions execute. It's not bolted on afterward. It's baked into the architecture. That's essential for EU AI Act compliance and, frankly, for any regulated industry.
So governance isn't friction, it's actually part of the design. That's a shift in thinking for a lot of organizations. Let's talk about some real-world use cases. Where are companies actually seeing the biggest wins with agentic workflows?
The most immediate wins are in marketing automation, AI coding assistance, and even managing existing chatbot fleets. In marketing, an agentic system can simultaneously manage campaign optimization, content generation, audience segmentation, and performance monitoring, all coordinating in parallel. For coding, you have agents that can understand requirements, generate code, run tests, debug failures, and iterate without constant human handoff. Time to market accelerates dramatically because you've eliminated the sequential bottlenecks.
That's where the 35% speed improvement comes from. But I'm guessing not every workflow is a good fit for agents, right? What should an enterprise actually evaluate?
Good instinct. Agentic systems shine when you have multi-step processes that require context switching, when you need integration across different systems and data sources, or when the problem domain is complex enough that decomposition into subtasks is valuable. Simple, linear workflows? Stick with automation. But anything that currently requires multiple people coordinating or constant decision-making, that's where agents win. You also need solid data and clear success metrics before you deploy.
So evaluation frameworks matter. What should that framework actually include?
Start with baseline metrics for your current process: execution time, error rate, cost per transaction, manual intervention touchpoints. Then define what success looks like for the agentic version. You're measuring speed, accuracy, cost reduction, and compliance adherence. But here's what's often missed. Measure the quality of agent decision-making and human trust. If agents are making decisions that stakeholders don't understand or can't audit, you've got a governance problem, not a capability problem.
That's really important. You can't just optimize for speed and ignore transparency. Now, one more thing I want to touch on because it's in the guide. This MCP protocol, what's that doing in the orchestration stack?
MCP, Model Context Protocol, is essentially a standardized language for how agents communicate with tools and data sources. Instead of building custom integrations for every agent and every system, MCP provides a common interface. It's like having a standard electrical outlet instead of different plugs for every device. That dramatically reduces integration complexity and lets you scale agents faster. Platforms like EtherDev use MCP to enable seamless tool access and agent communication.
So you're reducing friction in the stack. That's smart architecture. Let me ask the practical question. If a company is listening and thinking about implementing agentic orchestration, what's the first step they should actually take?
First, audit your existing workflows. Identify the ones that are manual, multi-step, and involve constant coordination. Those are your candidates. Then prototype with one workflow, not your entire business. Use that prototype to understand the data requirements, the compliance needs, and whether your team can actually work with agentic systems. Most failures happen because organizations underestimate the governance and evaluation piece. Start small, measure rigorously, then scale.
Prototype, measure, scale. That's a framework any organization should follow. One thing that strikes me is that this is really about architecture and strategy, not just technology.
Exactly. You can buy the best orchestration platform out there, but if you don't have clear workflows, defined success metrics, and governance policies in place, you'll struggle. This is as much about organizational readiness as it is about AI capability. The technology is moving fast, but the governance and strategic thinking, that's what separates successful implementations from failed pilots.
And given that 68% of Fortune 500s are expected to adopt this by mid-2026, this isn't a nice-to-have conversation anymore. It's happening now. Sam, anything else people should keep in mind as they think about their own agentic strategy?
Just this. Agentic AI isn't about replacing humans. It's about augmenting decision-making and accelerating execution. Keep humans in the loop on high-stakes decisions, build transparency into your system design, and remember that compliance isn't a barrier to innovation, it's table stakes. Get those fundamentals right, and agentic systems become powerful competitive advantages.
Fantastic insight. For everyone listening who wants to dive deeper into implementation specifics, control plane architecture, RAG systems, EU AI Act compliance details, and the evaluation frameworks Sam mentioned, head over to etherlink.ai. We've got the full implementation guide with code examples, architecture diagrams, and real-world deployment patterns. That's etherlink.ai. Sam, thanks for the conversation.
Thanks, Alex. Always great to break down what's actually happening at the frontier of enterprise AI. See you next time on EtherLink AI Insights.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening to EtherLink AI Insights. We'll catch you next episode.